What if one conversation could connect you to the right resource at the right time? Let's talk. Welcome to Heart with Christine Matus.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode on our Heart to Heart series. As you know, this is the series where we love to talk to people we know, we like, and we trust. And typically, it's people that I meet along the way, and I keep thinking, my clients, my families should meet this person. Well, today we have a treat. Today, we're going to be talking to Chris Dorman of CMG Home Loans. You know, when you're buying a home, this is probably the biggest thing that we'll ever buy in our lives. And making sure we have the right people helping us, making sure we have people who care is probably one of the most important things you can ever do. And we have here Chris, who has been in the industry for a long time. He's going to be telling you, and he's going to give you some good information and make you understand the whole process and maybe give us a little bit of a peek of his crystal ball and what he thinks is going to happen in the future. So, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's
Oh,
nice to see
gosh.
you.
Well, actually, having you here talking to you today, I'm very excited because sadly, there's been so many things that's been going on in the news, and real estate is something I'm always interested in and taking a look at because I feel that when we look at what happens in real estate, it seems to affect so many things.
Correct. Yes.
But before we even get in there, I'm just curious. What made you get into this area of work, this industry? Because you are very good at what you do. And I'm always
Thank you.
curious of, well, what started it? How did you lead to being where you are?
It's an interesting story. I was actually working in a restaurant and I was only working in the restaurant. I was working there full time. And a client who came, not client, I'm so used to calling people clients now, a customer who was I guess became a friend, offered me a job in the mortgage industry. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I like helping people. And then it just kind of took off from there, different iterations here and there. But that's how I worked for one broker for a very long time, about 20 something years. And we're all still together as a group, but we switched over to retail. And that's how we ended up at CMG Home Loans.
No kidding. So it was really that whole fortuitous meeting. And
Correct.
all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're into the career of your life, really, at this point,
Right.
right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
I love that. And now, you've been with CMG for a while now. What makes that organization different from others that you've been working with?
The thing I like about CMG is that they're constantly trying to improve what they're doing. We're in the process of opening a bank, so that will give us more opportunities there. I really like the way the whole process for the mortgage goes from start to finish. Everyone who works there is very serious about what they do, but also very nice, very, caring about the borrowers. So it's a smooth process. And I have very little complaints from realtors and attorneys and all that. They like the way we operate. I also like that we have like a team for almost everything. I have a team for my condos. I have a team for builders. I have a team for servicing, mortgage insurance, everything, all that kind of stuff. We have a team that I can send an email to and get a response rather quickly, which then takes a lot of the work away from me, which is good because
Oh,
then I
yeah.
can concentrate on sales and processing the loans.
Well, talk about the process because I think, there may be a lot of first-time home buyers listening in. And I like that you keep saying you like the process. So I was curious if you can tell us, what is the process of CMG and what's the process in some other typical places?
Well, actually, all right, I have a good idea. I always like to use examples, recent examples of what I've been through, but to tell people what we do. So I actually just sent off a pre-approval letter to for a borrower. And the question I get a lot is, well, how long will it take for me to get a pre-approval letter?
Mhm. Right.
And I always say, because sometimes people wait for like 4 or 5 days, which to me is crazy.
Wow,
right?
you could lose a home at that time.
You're already out of running in this market, you know?
True.
Um, so, and I also like to, I know it's become a very digital world and all that stuff, and I can do mostly everything without ever leaving my office. I used to love sitting across the table from people, but that doesn't really happen anymore. But I can. So what I do, you can also fill out an application online through my website, but I like to sit there, go through the application with my customers, and then as I'm doing it, it's just becomes a natural conversation. I get to learn about them while I'm entering their information, and then questions come up about the process and we can discuss all that. I try not to talk too much to them about that because I could talk for hours. And then I get to know. And basically, at that point, I can issue a pre-qualification, we'll call it, because I have not seen any documents yet, but that's going to be enough to get their offer in. But then right away, I usually go right to an email where I request all their paperwork, which goes right to them. They can upload everything to a secure portal,
Oh,
and
nice.
then I just have to enter that information or just verify the information they gave me matches their paperwork. And then I can bump them up to a pre-approval. And then sometimes if I even have enough, I can run them through the Fannie Mae desktop underwriting website and give them, a standard approval. Can't go so far as a credit approval because an underwriter does need to take a look at it.
You
But
know
I
what
can
I like is like it sounds just like it flows. Everything
is
flows. You
yes,
have everything. You can tell that you've been doing this a long time because it just goes from one hand to the next hand to the next hand, but yet
correct.
you're always involved. That's what I love.
I am involved from start to finish. Probably there's a theory that you should just kind of, once you're handing the application, you move on because then you're looking to get your new application. But I have to, it's a very, very complicated process because actually what I told you to do is the easy part. We get the letter in and the offer accepted, but then you have to, another thing that CMG does that I like is we really collect as much paperwork as we possibly can at the very, very beginning. It's almost like we're pre-underwriting the loan.
Yeah.
So then when we send it in, the underwriters like us because there's not much that they need to request and the process goes smoother. But I just like to stay with my borrowers from start to finish because
And I
there's a
can
lot of emails.
imagine
Yeah,
it's so overwhelming for them,
it's a
Chris.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot for people. And luckily, I've been doing it for a while, so I can talk them through it. I've seen so much.
I mean, I'll share when I first bought my home, I do remember the paperwork. And then this was the issue too, Chris. It seemed like we would submit paperwork and then a few days later they'll ask for the same paperwork. And I'm always thinking like, didn't I just give you that? And this was the days we didn't have computers or we had faxing. Oh my gosh. It was
Yeah, it's a lot. It's still a lot of paperwork, but people can PDF things, download them over to me rather quickly, and it has gotten better with the requesting the things multiple times because I don't know what used to happen. I agree, it happened all the time, and it's very frustrating. Like I've already sent you this, but everything now is like recorded digitally. I can go into the loan and say it's already in there, the paperwork. What sometimes does happen is though that when you submit paperwork, it leads to more paperwork because
oh.
there might be a large deposit on your bank statement that we need to explain or something along that line. So that's also where I like to help out.
See, and I love that because with your experience, you're really able to provide a lot of information, especially if it's someone who's never done this before or hadn't done it in a long time, because a lot of
Correct.
us, we don't buy
And
homes every day and even every year unless you're an investor. So, the whole process seems so foreign again. You're like, oh my gosh, it's so different. So
it's
I do
constant.
see the value of
Sorry, didn't mean
your
to interrupt. It's
experience. No, I do see the value of your experience that you
thank
really
you.
could help put their nerves at ease and their
Hmm.
mind at ease. What's been another big improvement you've seen in the industry so far, Chris?
It's a very good question. Let me think.
I bet there's
Improvement.
lots.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's improvements. It also seems like there's setbacks, but I
Yes.
think that something that's good, and again, with CMG, is common sense still does prevail. A lot of times, if you get the right people or just look at something, I explain it, people understand it, what's going on. And I think just the automation has made things a lot easier for people in that sense.
Yeah, I think you're right about that in technology. Now, right now I'm always asking people about, with the advent of AI. I know AI has been around, but now with AI, has that affected your industry? I'm hearing, different industries, whether they use it, they don't use it. I'm curious in the mortgage industry with AI, I'm wondering, has there been an uptick of people using it to help with, applications or with appraisals or anything like that? I'm just curious with,
It
how they're used.
has happened, yes. And the thing I was just on um, I guess another podcast, and what they were saying is AI will not replace a loan officer, but a loan officer who uses AI will replace one who doesn't.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, I mean, we've used it. I've seen it integrated into all our systems now. The one that I like the best is where I can take, if it's a self-employed borrower or someone who has, a side job or whatever that has Schedule C income, I can submit the tax returns to a website, and then it seems like within the hour they send back what my income I can use.
Wow.
That saves us a lot of time. We used to have to sit down and figure it all out, do all the deductions, add the mileage back in, all that kind of stuff. But now it just does it for you. As far as appraisals, I haven't seen anything. I'm sure the appraisers may be using it in some way. I know it comes in handy with emails and things like that. You know,
Yeah. Now, obviously, we've been hearing about a lot of things that happen in the news and not even just currently, but just in general. I'm curious, Chris, what are events that you've seen that happen around the world that affects what you do and I guess the mindset of a buyer, because I'm always fascinated when sometimes I hear something that happens and then next thing you know I hear, well, now mortgage rates tumbled or now mortgage rate went up. And I'm always like, wow, I'm just curious if there's certain events that you say, oh no, or oh great. I'm just curious.
I I say it on a daily basis. And more so than ever, it really has been a roller coaster. The thing I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you a funny story that ties into what you were just saying. But inflation is big, you know what I mean? And inflation continues to sort of go away, and then it comes back again. And then we get a bad jobs report, but then it comes back again. And then obviously, what's going on with Iran right now is affecting the what's going on with interest rates because everyone's worried about the gas supply, the oil supply, all that kind of stuff, and then how that's going to affect the economy on our end. So every time little different economic news happens, it changes what's going on with the rate. And as you can tell, there's just so many things going on lately that, yeah, any kind of big event definitely has an effect on rates. But lately, there's a lot of small little events that affect, and they'll go up and then they'll come back down again. Then you get a good report one day, you get a bad report the next day.
And so I was curious.
Inflation, I would say, is the main thing right now that we're dealing
Yeah.
with.
And so that makes me think, Chris, I'm curious. So, sadly, you're right. The news affects our mindset and affects our behavior. But how do you approach someone who says, oh gosh, it just seems a little crazy out there. I think I want to wait. And I don't like, how do you approach that? I'm curious.
Well, what I do is I explain, you never want to tell someone exactly what to do. So I say, fine, if you would like to wait, that's a great idea. But, if you wait, there's statistics that show it will end up costing you more money in the long run because if you wait, for the rates to go lower, the house prices are going to continue to rise in the meantime. So there's a theory, there's never a bad time to buy a home
Okay.
because,
That's good
you
to
know,
know.
right? You can always refinance your interest rate, but you can't always stop the price of the houses from going up,
You're
and
absolutely right.
you
And
get
what's
in,
funny?
you're building equity, from day one.
Exactly. And I have to say, I remember it was in 2000 uh 8 or 7 when I bought my first home.
I had a feeling
And I
that was what
and
you
I
were going to
remember
say.
people telling me like, "Oh my God, that is like the height at the time." And then but we did it. And I remember that weird feeling because then, prices did dip a little bit again. And I felt like thinking, wait a minute, what did we just do? But I remember my mom saying what you said, Chris. She goes, Christine, you're going to be in this home like 30 years. So she said, I
Mhm.
wouldn't worry about and she's right. She was totally
You're
right. If
absolutely
I look
right.
at where we are now, it's,
Correct.
so, but it is a scary feeling, especially when it's your first home. You're
It
like,
really is.
yeah.
And I bought the same exact time you probably did. The same, it was in the summer of 2007.
Oh, mine was
And
July.
so was mine. I
Hey,
just was looking at the paperwork the other day. We must have closed like the same week.
oh my,
The funny thing is, though, I sold the house. So I sold at the height and
okay.
then used that money to buy the house I'm in now at the height.
That's
But
good.
then it went right down.
Yeah, right. I
But
remember that.
because I bought that first house when I did, I had the equity to buy, you put that down on the new house.
100%.
And but now it has come back and gone up even higher since when we
Yep.
bought it. So
Yeah. See, that's
your
why
mother
I
was
do
right.
feel
You just
you're
you have to wait.
100%, Chris. And that's why it is funny because when people say like, "Oh, don't buy now. Houses are too high." But I always feel like, but how do you predict? You can't even predict that. How do you know it's
Yeah,
high? You don't know.
right. How do you know if it's not going to keep going higher?
Yep.
So the funny story I wanted to tell you was I was watching the news this morning, and they had a report saying, "Oh, it's funny because the rates change so much the news can't really keep up." So they said, "Oh, the interest rates are lower. This is going to be great. There's going to be more buyers in the market, more inventory." And then a few stories later, they were interviewing a realtor, and he said, "No, oh, it's terrible right now. There's no inventory. There's no." But they both did say, it's always a good time to buy a house.
Yes, I think, and I love that. That's a good mantra. So here's another question, Chris. Say you met someone who would love to get into the mortgage industry and do what you do. Is there any words of wisdom you want to share with them or tell them, things that, maybe if you were starting out in the industry again, you wish someone told you this? I'm curious.
Actually, I'll tell you what someone told me when I first started. As soon as you start, you know as much or more than anyone else in you know what I mean? The people who are coming to you know little less than you know already. But what I also would suggest is, yes, try and learn as much as you possibly can. Nowadays, it's great. You can go listen to podcasts. You can go on, listen to Zoom meetings. What I did actually was like, so my friend asked me to work for them. I went in and I was like, you know what? I don't really know enough about this. So I worked inside the office for about a year so I could learn more about the process.
Yeah.
And I would just suggest, if you're going to do this, you probably have the personality that's suited for it. So I would just say be yourself, be educated, and, just attack every day with a positive attitude.
I love that. And I have to say, we've known each other for some time now. And as much as things get stressful, get busy,
Yeah.
you always have a great attitude, Chris.
Thank you. So do you.
And you always seem to focus on the sunny side of the street, really, because things could be happening. And I can imagine, especially in your line of work, there could be a lot of negativity. Am I wrong? Or
There's a ton, but I guess that's a good point. That's what I would tell someone who's starting out too, is don't let these things, it is very stressful, yes, but don't let it stress you out. We're not surgeons, yes, it's very stressful. People need to get into the house. I remember like, I have a mover waiting outside, all that kind of stuff, but it always seems to work out,
yeah.
which does help. It may not work out on the day it was supposed to, but it will eventually work out, and try not to get too stressed out about it because then you're not thinking straight
No, I
and
love you
you
said
have
the
to be the
movers.
calm one for your clients.
I love that you said the movers because I've always said, so we've done real estate in our firm, and I've always said it's the movers who control everything. Like we could set closing dates, we could set a contract and everything, but if the movers aren't ready, like, well, that's that. That is that.
That's that. Can't close. I can't get a mover. Yeah.
I used to say I want to own a moving company. I really did because I said then I can control everything. So that's always been my thing. Oh my goodness. Chris, what a pleasure. It was so good chatting with you. I feel that, you know, I always thought I understood how the mortgage industry works and how, it's good to work with a mortgage rep. But, you're a breath of fresh air. You've always come with great attitude. You have a wealth of knowledge, and you really are there for the families because you're right. This is very stressful, and it's
Very
nice to have
stressful.
someone who communicates, who explains things simply, and really just wants the best for them, and I appreciate that. Yeah, and it comes through. I mean, really, in such a strong message from you. Chris, how can
Thank
people get in touch with you? Because I will put all your information in our chat and all that stuff for everyone when they tune in. But I was wondering if you can tell people what's the best way they
Sure.
can.
Great. The best way to get a hold of me is my cell phone, and that is 732-766-8084. Um, I usually try and answer it all the time, but if not, shoot me a text is the best way to go. I've become bad, like most people. Voicemails aren't really the best way to get a hold of me, but a text is a great way. And then if not, my email is cdorman, CDORMAN at cmghomeloans.com. And then
Wonderful.
also, if they want to go to my website, it's cmghomeloans.com/my site/Christopher dash Dorman. And that will lead them. You can apply on there. Like I said, if you want to apply on there, it's a pretty good website to go check out. But again, I prefer the phone call is the first point of contact.
And I can attest to that you are so responsive. Like every time I text, I mean, you are quick. I don't even know. I'm amazed.
Well, I'm sitting here. I don't know. You probably saw me looking over to my side, but it's a great tool. Cell phones are an amazing tool for people in
I'm
our
telling
industry.
they are.
And
And
really, there's really no excuse for people not to get back because I know you're holding your cell phone in your hand. So, and
so
again, I've learned too, there's no reason if someone has a question or whatever, the longer you get back to them, the more, because again, everyone's very anxious. So the quicker you get back to people, it calms everyone down.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, Chris Dorman, thank you so much for your time. This was
You're very
wonderful.
welcome.
And I think a lot of
Thank
people
you.
got a lot of good information from you. You've given them a lot of clarity about exactly how the process works and why, what you do and what CMG does is so much different from others. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Chris. This was
Thank you
great.
very much, Christine. Have a great day.
Thank you. You
I'll see
too.
you
Talk to you
soon.
soon, Chris. Thanks for
All righty.
everything.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. For more info, go to matuslaw.com.